you over there.
You'll know that we did YouTube. We did Eurovision, and it gave me a copyright strike. And it's rubbish. It's not a copyright strike. I didn't do any copyright infringement, but I got a rubbish copyright strike. I can see your comments, Joe. Yes. And when I go to go live, it says the copyright strike can't go live. So I didn't know that until just now. So then I've had to quickly do a video for YouTube to say that we're on Twitch. We are on Twitch. We are thus. We're doing a podcast about how people think, feel, and behave. And I think, feel, and behave really wound up right now. And the plan is to do Women Who Kill. Steve of the Dead is here. How are you doing, Steve?
I'm touched by celebrity, me. I'm doing pretty good.
Touched by celebrity. Does that mean you met Jimmy Savile or someone?
No. I am the celebrity. I'm feeling touched by my own, the extent of my influence and my reach.
Nice. What's been happening?
I got recognised in the pub on Saturday. Someone came up to me and went, "Excuse me, are you Steve of the Dead?" I was like, "Yeah, mate." It's great.
Recognised by a stranger, because I get recognised in the pub, but that's because they already know me because I've been in and causing trouble. But
yeah, complete stranger. I was just happy someone didn't come up and say, "Excuse me, you one of the hairy bikers?" Bono.
The episode in just a minute. How is everyone? I'm actually really enthused and pleased to see you all here on Twitch and that you found it.
Cusack Cat 8's I've actually had 2 discectomies previously. This one is going to be spinal fusion, so it's nothing to do with the disc now. There's very little disc left in my spine, according to like my recent MRIs and CT scans. So it's just fusing the vertebrae together. This one. So anyway, Aileen Wuornos.
Aileen Wuornos. She's the one in our thumbnail
Aileen
tonight.
Wuornos.
Yeah. Well,
she is. Yeah, she is. She is an exceptionally. I wouldn't say aggressive because she wasn't like violent in the same way that Rose West has been violent, but when in terms of like her personality, at least everything following Conviction onwards and depictions in media have always had her as this like manic looking evil. I mean, the eyes, the focus on like the soullessness of the eyes, and that's often a thing that happens with women who kill. There is always like one picture, one that goes, for want of a better word, viral. It becomes to be associated with them. You think of Hindley, you think of that picture. You think of Joanna Dennehy, it's that picture of her holding the knife while she sat down. You think of Aileen Wuornos, it's the one where she's staring right ahead. So, yeah.
There's quite a few of her looking a bit unhinged, aren't there?
Yeah. But despite that, she somehow managed to talk men into coming to, a remote location and no one round, back of the car, to get on the back seat. And then she pulls out a gun, robs them and shoots them. So using this method between 1989 and 1990, she killed 7 of her male clients while she was working as an escort. She would claim that these were self-defense. In fact, I think I believe later on she would recant one of them and say this killing wasn't in self-defense. He didn't try to attack me. He was just going to try to attack me. So I killed him before it was self-defense. But everybody else tried to attack me, and so I killed them in self-defense.
It seems like a lot of people have tried to attack her. In some of the previous episodes that we did, we saw some women were being like, they felt like fighting back. So I got that as a concept. With Aileen, it feels a little bit like she might be using that maybe, because do you think like it seems like a lot of people have attacked her and she's had to fight back quite a lot of times?
I suppose, but then again, she was like a homeless drifter. She was working as she actually had a partner that she lived with, but for a while she was a homeless drifter. She worked as an escort for money. So, you are probably going to be put into a position where you're going to be around women who are women. You're going to be around men who are going to be capable of getting rough with you, especially if you've had this horrible life that she had at the start. She's, you can see her at least carrying a gun for self-defense. But then once that's out and pointed at the man, that's the point where you have to de-escalate things. You have to bring things back down. You have to be like, right now, I'm getting away. You know, you stay there. I'm leaving. You know, or just, right, leave me alone. Fuck off. That's the point. Once you've got the gun on somebody else, the power has shifted. The man
True.
attacking you now standing back with his hands up. You know, that's the point where it stops being self-defense, and that's where, but then again, that's my interpretation of how things should be and not how things are in America, where things you can argue.
Is she in America? I thought she was in Australia.
No, she's American.
Maybe it's just the war, because the name sounds like something you might hear in Australia.
It doesn't sound American, does it? It doesn't sound like an American surname.
Aileen Wuornos. Yeah, go ahead. You've got notes, yeah? So you've got points to make on it.
I walked through it, don't worry. Yeah. So she had a very difficult childhood, as I said. She never met her father. Their parents divorced shortly before she was born. But her dad was a schizophrenic who was in and out of prison for sex crimes against children. And he hung himself in prison when she was 13. So he was not the nicest of men. I think when she was 4, her mum abandoned her and her older brother Keith. So they were soon adopted by her maternal grandparents. She was abused by her alcoholic grandfather, and she began engaging in sexual activities with both her brother and other boys at school in exchange for things like cigarettes and drugs and money and food. So, this was all happening by the age of 11. When she was 14, she was raped by a friend of her grandfather's, and then the child was put up for adoption after Aileen gave birth in a home for unwed mothers. So she did not have the nicest of childhoods. Yeah. She also dropped out of school when her grandmother died, after which her grandfather kicked her and her brother out of the house. And during that period, she, I think, how old would she have been? Like between 14 to 16. She lived in the woods for a while and worked as a prostitute to support herself. Again, money, food, you need the essentials. So when she was 20, she married a 69-year-old, and he was fairly well off. It was one of those, pretty woman sort of things, but they were together for just 9 weeks, and then they divorced. And over the next decade or so, she would be in and out of prison for a number of petty crimes like theft and assault, and I think she moved pawning stolen goods and things. So yeah, a life of instability up until at least 30.
We can see that obviously through her upbringing, things. You can see why someone turns out to be mixed up after all that, I guess. And I can understand why she would have definitely a defensive posture towards men, maybe even like a separation. As I'd see us as humans, like we're men, we're women, we're people of non-denominative gender, whatever. Like, we're all humans. Like, but I feel like she's definitely got a reason to feel like she's on a side rather than just, going around life like a part of a group, maybe. I can see why she would feel defensive and angry. It's interesting that she got this sugar daddy then at some point and that didn't work out for her. I wonder if I don't know anything about that situation, I suppose, don't I? But I wonder if things could have been different if things had have worked out in some way for her. Or do you think that as psychologically she's been that... let's be fair, like that's a lot of damage, isn't it? That's a lot of damage.
That is, yeah. Like, that's by that young as well. Yeah, that's a lot. At that point, when you're 20 and you meet this man who's like 69 or whatever, at that point, you've had 9 years of using sex to get what you want or need from men. You have,
before that she had sex was forced on her and she had to suffer through it, sort of thing. Like, so then but then later on changed that that role and she started to use it as her own weapon. Then like you said, at first it's forced on her, but then later on, as she is sort of like going to school and think, right, I need fags, I need money, I need cigarettes, I need money.
force of habits.
No, I say fags all the time because we're a smoke fags.
Yeah. So
she's coming through the window.
Joe Boy Watson sent tippies. I would have probably clapped Joanna Dennehy's cheeks until I realised you two both have a look of her. Superchuffer owes 3 hugs.
Okay, I don't know what to say about that joke. Don't quite know what to say about that one. Is the cat going out the door now? Yeah. On the serious note, like I was sort of saying that I think there was a lot of damage early on, and then she met somebody, and okay, they're a lot older than her, but they didn't get murdered. He's got a hat on.
No. She had the photo of her is like with a hat like this.
Oh right, I see. So he's got a specific hat on.
She's got one.
No, scratch that, please. We've had this discussion. Come on. I've got a scratch post. She scratches the sofa. Yeah. So Eileen's grown up in this awful situation. She's managed to come through it, not completely unscathed, of course, but she managed to come through it, and then she's met this guy who seems, I would guess, to be less. Like my guess is that the reason she married him is not because he's being abusive and horrible to her, but because he's been nice to her. In chat, someone said, he got off lucky escape in a way. But I'm wondering if my question here is: do you think that she, after all that damage, required some form of counselling or therapy or period of time before she can engage in a proper relationship, or do you think that was an opportunity for her to sort of repair some of that damage in a proper relationship? How do you feel she could have, can someone like Aileen have a normal day-to-day relationship?
At that point, I would argue yes, because she's only 20 at this point, and so while all of this trauma is still incredibly fresh and recent, it is also at a point where you are still able to develop as a person, as an individual, as a personality, as a psychological construct, as a being. Basically, you are able to still grow. So at that point, with like the right intervention, you could, with a lot of work. But the problem is that it was one of those like shotgun wedding sort of things. He was quite well off. They met at like a yacht club or something like that, and she was, it was a very short period before they were married. They were only together a few weeks, so it's one of those where that level of like progression through a relationship in that period of time, I'm trying to say span of time, then in that period of time was too fast. It was too much. It was everything too soon. And you know what it's like when you see somebody and it's like, oh, we've been together a few months, we're getting married, and wow, that's moving fast. Or like you've just had a breakup and you're already in another relationship with someone else, and it's like, but you need a period, So it's a relationship that's not built on the greatest of the most stable of foundations to begin with. So he's probably not the right person to be able to provide her with the support network that she would need to get through therapy and work through her issues. So she probably didn't have a chance with him. But at that point, she could have, if she'd have met the right person and things that have progressed like normally, for want of a better term. She might have been okay, but no. After the relationship ends in the divorce, she goes back to a life of petty crime, and she's in and out of jail for the next 10 years or so. So, but in 1986, things sort of change for Aileen. She meets Tyria Moore, who's a hotel maid at a gay bar, and moves in with her, but she still continues to work as a prostitute. But also in 1986, she's questioned by the police after a male companion accused her of pulling a gun on him while she was in his car and demanding $200.
So at this point,
found.
So sorry, I know I'm interrupting your notes, but at this point, she's still actively working as a prostitute.
Yeah.
Like
it's money, isn't it? It's still money.
But like she's involved with people like that. The first relationship with the guy, obviously, I don't think he would have encouraged her prostitution. And then this lady she's working with works at a bar. She's not a prostitute either. So it's not that everyone around her is still in this racket, so to speak, or is she? Like some people, I feel, are unable to extricate themselves from a seedy underworld. Whereas Aileen, it feels like, has had a couple of opportunities here to sort of turn away from that, maybe, live a more normal life, but in some ways, engaged in it. Like,
I don't, because at this point, right, prostitution is really the only stable thing she knows. It brings her money. She's also got a criminal record because she's been in and out of prison. So it's hard to sort of like get a job at like you know, a restaurant or you know, or a factory or a supermarket or something when you've got multiple arrests for assault, for theft. So
yeah, true.
But it's easy. But you could always go back to walking the streets. You can always go back to prostitution.
Did she have a drug habit in any way, or was it simply financial?
I don't think she did have a drug habit, actually. I think most of what I read didn't really mention it. She might have done. You could easily see that someone like her in her situation would. But I think it's because she's usually found around hanging around bars and things. That's normally where she would meet men and pick them up and, you know, take them away. So you can imagine alcohol easily. But I don't know about anything harder, anything, you know, like crack or heroin or whatever. So I won't like to say. I could easily understand how, you know. So
Unlike the woman who she's staying with, she's still got all her own teeth.
So then, yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe it was just alcohol.
Yeah.
But yeah,
sorry, do continue. Yeah.
So the police are called to this incident where a male companion of hers is saying that she pulled a gun on him and tried to hold him up for $200. And when the police searched the car, they found a .22 caliber pistol under the passenger seat that she'd been sat in. But nothing comes of this. But it is the first sort of like incident of this sort of behavior. It could be much like serial killers. This is your escalation. This is where it stops being a thing that, you know, where you sitting outside in the bushes with binoculars isn't enough. You need to break in, and then breaking in isn't enough. You need to be in their room and steal something, and then taking one of their items isn't enough. You need to actually get them. This is the this could be the first moment of, I could do this. I can rob these men and kill them. She may have just intended to rob this guy and let him go.
Because this is where, again, like talking of killing, like it becomes in previous episodes we'd learned, especially with the first one we did, and everyone's name, you know, the lady who was the first lady to be hanged, Ruth, or the last lady to be hanged.
Oh, the last lady. Yeah,
Ruth Ellis, wasn't it? Ruth Ellis.
Ruth Ellis.
Like with them, we felt that these ladies had been put upon, had been pushed into these situations, and had ended up retaliating in some way, and almost like you could feel they were vindicated in some way through their actions in that context. But with Aileen, it feels like, although she's gone through this rough time, and although she's been damaged by these people, it may be that she's taking out some sort of vendetta against other people that weren't responsible for her direct abuse, and it feels like she's almost become like this sort of anti-Batman, this Joker figure, this like scarred villain who now is building up to crimes and is getting worse and worse, rather than just being reactive in the moment and feeling that she's being mind you, I suppose there's another, I mean, these are just ideas I'm floating, so you tell me what you think, but is it possible that because of her previous abuse, you know, a history of abuse, when someone does something a little bit bad, she flies off the handle and see, like, you know, is it PTSD or something like that? Not that that's bad having PTSD, but you know what I mean? Is it, maybe it's a response to that, or do you think it's more that she's building up to becoming a more seasoned criminal?
Well, given what we know about like how she killed later on, it's very possible that is like your first step for me, but it is also just as possible that there is a trigger, because you need to wonder how many of these men were actually like about to rape her. How many of these men would she have just had sex with and then gone on her merry way, you know, because all you have to go on is her word of it was self-defense and a jury's finding of no, it wasn't. You drove these men out to remote areas. They were found naked, shot several times. You know, all their stuff had been taken. So I don't think she had any survivors. That's why this one was quite important. This was like the first one. Although I think, if I remember correctly, no, I don't remember. No. She wasn't caught because of like someone surviving. It's not like say with Jeffrey Dahmer, where like your last victim manages to escape. But yeah, I think if I remember correctly, and I don't want to state this without Googling it now, and these are all notes from like 2 weeks ago before I was ill, but if I remember correctly, she did say it was because she just grew to hate men. And much like we see in male serial killers who have troubled upbringings with their mothers that go after women because they hate women. Edmund Kemper, for example, is a particularly famous one example of this. So it is entirely within like your serial killer psychology to have that experience and that reaction. If you grow up, and like somebody said in chat there, I would hate men as well if I'd gone through what she went through. And by the end, you are seeing sex as a thing to get what you want from these sex-obsessed creatures. All these men that you've known throughout your life have only been interested in sex, and they've been happy to trade it for cigarettes and food and things, but they've also been just as happy to take it without giving you anything, regardless of what you want. Yeah. So you can see how somebody like her ends up thinking, right, well, fuck men then. They're just nothing but animals to me. You know.
Let me just quickly clear up what's going on in chat. The reason that we're broadcasting on Twitch today is because of a French copyright strike from a French company who own the Eurovision rights, and they incorrectly copyright striked our channel for the watch along. So that's being fought. Joe's making jokes, so I see that he's making jokes. So Peachy, don't take that to heart. He was making a joke about Alan and living in Somerset. And yeah, Joe, they're not saying you're the grifter. They're saying they thought it was Alan the grifter who's done the copyright strike. So just to get those wires uncrossed for you all, we're here this week. We might be here this next week, depending on how YouTube determines my copyright. So we might be here forever if YouTube decides that they want to uphold the copyright strike. No, we're going to be back on YouTube soon, and no one's having a row in chat. So you're all good in the hood. So Aileen has cut to the point where she's started. Like, we haven't got to the point where she's done her first kill really in the story, have we yet? We've got to the point where she's moved in with this woman and she's escalating in crimes. So yeah, from there, where's her first? I suppose we're up to nearly her first kill then. So what's her first?
Her first kill is in November 1989, and then over a period of a year, she kills 6 people. It might be 7. 7. Sorry, and that's quite a short span for a serial killer.
So it's like she's gone on a spree, isn't it? Like
yeah. Almost. Serial killers who kill for compulsion, at least the ones that are like, you know, they get something like sexual from it, or they feel an urge or a compulsion or a voice or whatever. They tend to escalate over a period of that's much longer. It's usually months, if not years, and there's normally breaks in between them as well. So they'll kill, and then they'll have a break, and then they'll kill again, and then they'll have a break. And usually this break does become shorter as time goes on, but it's not unknown for serial killers to reach a point where they're like, okay, I'm all right now, and they're done for decades. Like Dennis Rader didn't kill after the late 80s, I think 1989 as well, but he obviously still got caught in the end, but he hadn't resumed killing. He just started communicating with people, whereas Aileen does this very, very quickly over a short period.
Can I just dig into that? Unusual. Can I just dig into that aspect as well, right? So it seemed like Raider got satiated as well then at some point. Like at some point he'd had his fill of killing, and the escalate at the start though, the idea that you would do something, then spend long time, then do it again, then a shorter time, then do it again a short. That's almost like an escalation of like a drug habit or something, isn't it? Like
it's a tolerance, isn't it?
That fix and that thrill again, and like, you know, but you don't, with a drug habit, you don't get satiated. You don't become satisfied and have had enough. So do you think that serial killers can be, you know, satisfied at some point in general? And do you think that most of them need that escalation of? Is there a pattern there, or is this just different for different people?
I think it's different for different people. Killers being satisfied is the exception and not the norm. Like the first serial killer, Jack the Ripper, was satisfied after 5 kills because he didn't kill again that we know of. Whereas someone like H.H. Holmes or Harvey Crippen, no, Harvey Crippen was the doctor, sorry. Someone like H.H. Holmes would have just kept killing as long as he could. Someone like Peter Curtin, the Vampire of Dusseldorf, who we talked about in the tier list, he would have kept killing. Most serial killers would keep killing as long as they need to. Well, as long as they're not caught, basically. I mean, you look at the way Jeffrey Dahmer disposed of the first person he killed. He cut it up, he put it into bags, he took it to a dump, and, you know, he properly disposed of the body and made sure it was, you know, as hard to find as possible. Whereas by the end, he had body parts all over his house. He had 3 heads in the fridge. He had a head on a stove. He had, hearts in like Tupperware boxes and things. He had bodies in acid, in vats. So he'd gotten lazy and sloppy because he'd gotten more and more accustomed to the feeling. He built up a bit more tolerance, so he needed to kill again sooner. So it's not same with Dennis Nielsen. He had, by the end, he was flushing bodies down the toilet. So
we did look at that, didn't we? We talked about that a little bit.
Yeah. So
that was his undoing, wasn't it? In the end,
it was.
I remember.
Dynarod came and had to fix the drains. So so it serial killer stopping is more sort of like the exception rather than the rule. Most serial killers are perfectly content to keep killing as long as you don't catch them, but it's not unknown. But I think for Aileen, it probably would have carried on as long as she could have got away with it. So
she went on
over this
rapid spree, and
then
year-longish,
and then it came to like a kid.
I couldn't be happier.
Joe Boy Watson sent tippies. There had better be a Hillary Clinton section in this. We came, we saw, he died. Sharon Stone was a murderer too. She murdered the leg spread game. Superchuffer owes 3 hugs.
Thanks, Joe Boy.
No, Mel Giedrich has just murdered the leg spread game.
Yeah, she's changed the game, hasn't she? Yeah, absolutely. Going back to what we were saying, so she's done this killing, and she's got to about 5 or 6, whatever, and then I'm assuming she was like quickly shut down. Then the way you were saying it wasn't that she handed herself in.
No, she was shocked. What had happened was, when she would kill, she would normally, in the man's car, drive out to a secluded area, shoot and kill them there, and then you take the car and drive away, and you abandon the car later on.
So this was wait.
No.
Let me just break you a couple points, because I want to talk about. Like we brought up 2 concepts there, that she was shut down, probably would have gone on to kill again. So I wanted to investigate how she was stopped. But maybe at this point we should dig into actually the murders themselves. Did they all follow the same pattern? Were there any outstanding differences? Did she, fuck up at any point, or was it all sort of similar sort of process? Did you?
They were all very similar sort of things. Most of the men were found either fully naked or in a state of undress. They'd all been shot, and there'd been no other attempt to like mutilate or otherwise interfere with the body like you might find with other serial killers. They had just been dumped in like waste ground.
ABC sent tippies. Here's Epoxy 3 hugs for all the chicken you can eat, or for the YouTube court case, or for Steve's puss grooming. Little goes a long way. Booyakasha.
Thanks very much, ABC.
Superchuffer owes 3 hugs.
You're right, a little does go a long way. It all adds up, and as you'll see like in the next coming weeks, when we're going to make media improvements, like I've sent Steve a nice microphone, so that's a really massive step forward in some ways. So thank you, it does really, really help. And I'd also want to shout out ABC from the TFL TV cult. We're in the TFL TV cult together. I shouldn't really promote that on my channel, because some of the things Tyan says on his channel, I balk at. I'm like, what the fuck? But my views do not represent his views, and I'm definitely in the cult. So there we go. Please, let's continue talking about murder.
Yeah, but there was one victim that was found fully dressed, but other than that, most of them were found in some state of undress. So it's likely she took them out, making them think, I'm gonna get laid here. And then as they were getting ready or getting undressed or whatever, that's when she pulls the gun, robs them, shoots them, dumps the bodies, and drives off in their car. The way she gets caught is that she's working with Tyria Moore, as that she's there as well to drive them away, or to like help her dispose of things like bodies, or help me torch the car, and then obviously you need picking up. If you drive the car away and dump it somewhere, you then need to be picked up. So so they are seen abandoning the car of her 4th victim. Aileen and Tyria together are both seen like legging it away from the car that's then identified as the car of the 4th victim. So following a brief campaign in the media, say, have you seen these 2 women? Tyria is caught because she's obviously not as used to hiding as Aileen. She works in a bar. She's not necessarily on the straight and narrow, but she's at least more than Aileen is. She's not as deep into this underworld as Aileen is, so she's found and caught, and she agrees with to try to elicit a confession from Aileen in exchange for immunity. So over a series of phone calls, she's like she begs Aileen to sort of like help her clear her name and be like, look, they're going to charge me, they're going to put me on death row, I'm good, they're going to pin all this, help me, Aileen, puts the pressure on her over a series of phone calls that are recorded. She's essentially wearing a wire, and she convinces Aileen to come forward and confess to this one murder. And then obviously the police are like, right, okay, well, do you want to explain these ones as well then? She then confesses to all of them and says they're all in self-defense. These people tried to sexually assault me. And she, it was 3, my mistake, not 1, 3 men. She says they only had started to attempt to rape me. These other men didn't. She pleads no contest to all of them at first and then changes her, she claims, I'm misreading my notes here. She confesses to the murders and then later pleads no contest to 3 of them. Mm-hmm. But she then pleads guilty to 2, and so eventually she is given 6 death sentences in total. Because where was it? Florida, I think. Yeah, it's Florida.
Yeah. That's cut back to just, I want to dig into a little bit. So you've got, she's done these murders, and it's actually her friend Tyria who's caught initially, who actually is an accomplice, isn't she then? Because she's going to pick her up.
Essentially, yeah.
There's no way she doesn't know what's going on, does she? She's not picking her up because she thinks she's just been dumped in the wilderness. Like, she's probably coming back with a handful of money, excited.
Some possessions, and
and there was a question.
Guy's got a laptop in the back of the car. Great, that's 200 quid down at the pawn shop.
So like, she must know sort of what's going on. And then someone in chat asked, was Aileen shooting them in the front or the back? I guess the idea would be like, if they're shot in the back, then they're not attacking her. They're
fleeing. Yeah.
But
I think most were shot in the front, but I could be wrong about that.
Mm-hmm. And then so like, this woman Tyria Moore is the one that gets caught because she's visible, doesn't know what she's doing, and she basically just snitches. It's a really weird situation though, because it's not like Thelma and Louise where they're like in it together and ride or die.
And they go over the cliff together.
Yeah, it's not like that. She almost like snitches her friend up, but then you would, because you've not done any murders and you've just picked up your friend and she's done some murders. But she doesn't directly snitch her. She asks her to come forward herself. It's a very strange.
Joe Boy Watson sent tippies. Philip Schofield is gonna murder Holly Willy Booby. I'd like to ask serious questions, but it's my tippies and I'll be as silly as I want. Big up to Scott wearing his Blazer Vice City style sleeves up. Superchuffer owes 3 hugs.
This is because when I turned on the computer
Scotty
earlier,
Bassetti.
when I turned on the computer earlier and went to go live, it said you can't go live because of your Eurovision's copyright strike, and I was like, what the right? And the sleeves went up and I went into action mode. Thanks for the tippies, yeah. I'm interested. Thanks, Joe. I'm actually interested in this aspect of how she got caught. In the do we think? And you can tell me in chat. If you're picked up for your friend's murder, do you have an obligation? Like, there's like this weird honor amongst thieves thing where no snitching, snitches get stitches. Never grass people up, sort of thing. But you wouldn't want to go down for a murder, would you? But then you wouldn't go down for a murder.
Would you die for that? Because you're in a place with the death penalty, and if they can charge you with being at that crime scene,
is that enough?
They can charge you for
is
that murder.
I was going to say, do you think you could get out of it by saying, "Listen, no comment. My car might have been in that area, but I have not done a murder, and because I hadn't done a murder, then maybe I get away with it because I haven't done a murder." Like, do you think maybe she should have kept her mouth shut and not grassed up a friend, or do you think there's more chance she would have actually gone in the electric chair? Tell me in chat. You tell me, Steve, and tell me what you think.
I think she'd have just been liable to go down as Aileen was. I totally don't blame her for being like, right, if you don't prosecute me for this, I can get you a full confession from her. So, because I mean, you're looking at the death penalty. That changes how you might feel about this woman that you've been living with for 3 years, who still goes out and sleeps with men on the side. So I don't blame her for informing. I don't blame her for doing a deal. I would.
I might be a bit cross if I was the one that did the murder.
I think Tyria Moore is still alive. Yeah, this isn't that long ago. I'm talking like 89, 1990.
Like, and also, there's a difference between. I know it's murder, and I know these are really bad things and everything, but I'm just talking about this honor code amongst people that. You know, if you're involved in these things, I would expect maybe she could have rung her up and said, "Please come forward," but to be wearing a wire as well, like that felt like that's another level.
Well, no, essentially, your calls are recorded.
Yeah,
the calls were recorded, so you are essentially wearing a wire. You're not going to see her.
But yeah, so but like you're almost like luring into the trap of coming forward, like on the phone, aren't you? Like it might have been nicer or in some way more honourable if she'd said, "Look, you know, come forward, get me out of this shtick, because otherwise they're going to do me over." But yeah, I think it happens in these things, doesn't it? When there's accomplices and things like that, they often end up infighting and pointing the finger at each other so that they can protect themselves. And it also makes me wonder then about Tyria Moore as to whether she was in any way more complicit than just picking someone up, you know, because she's been doing a bit of finger pointing to get herself out of trouble. So these are questions I suppose we can never really know the answers to unless like there's any more evidence. But it's Aileen who's ended up, everything's pinned on her. And I suppose, has Tyria walked free and clear then out of this, or did she still get
no, she walked prosecutorial immunity, so she couldn't be prosecuted for anything related to this, so
got immunity out of it. So you know, she's actually benefited in some way. So that's a very funny balance. I know that both are complicit in horrible acts, so I should give neither of them any, you know, by all means, like, and I'm saying this on the internet, you know, don't snitch and all this, but by all means, you know, tell people if someone's done a bad crime. Do you know what I mean? Like, tell people. So it feels
there's
like
a difference between being a snitch and harboring a serial killer. I think that's an important thing we should make clear for people in the criminal underworld. You know?
Yeah. But then if you're involved in the killings, then you suddenly become a snitch, because you should also take some of that responsibility yourself if caught, you know, and no comment your way through it, I guess. So I wonder.
But are you involved in the killings though?
I don't know. I don't know. Was she involved? Was she involved in it? Is there anything to say she was? Could she have been?
No, nothing to say that she was. But she definitely. I would assume that she knew, because, like you said, you're not just picking up your mate who's been like, "Oh, I've been abandoned. The guy's just dropped me off on the road, and I don't know where I am." You know, you're picking her up. You know what she's done. So, yeah, she had to have known, but. That's my opinion. That's not legal fact, because she's still alive and could probably sue me. That's just my opinion. I should actually have looked more into Tyria, obviously, because we talk about Aileen. It sort of stops after a point for her. But yeah, it would have been interesting to sort of like go down that rabbit hole and see if she'd ever spoken to media or given interviews about what she knew. I would assume she would, because obviously, the moment this comes out that hey, this woman's a serial killer, we've got a, you know, the trial of the century, media everywhere. They're going to want words with the ex-girlfriend, aren't they? So
yeah, and once you've got that immunity, you can then go ahead and talk and not worry about dropping yourself slightly in it sometimes, because you've done the trial, you've had the immunity, someone else has gone down for the crimes. That might be interesting to look into. You are Superchuffer regulars, Joe. Yeah, a lot of you chuffers, the Mimp crew. We will get our clothes from IKEA. I've got my Angry Alan art. I've got my clothes from IKEA. I've got a big armchair, all the chicken I can eat, a pedigree dog. Yeah, they're the memes. So now she's been caught. The police have gone round because like they caught this one woman and she's basically grassed her up. So did she go on the run, or did like she hand herself in? Because she had the options.
Handed herself in.
So that's kind of noble in a way, isn't it? Because she didn't say "fuck you, I'm going on the run," and you take the fall. Like she did respond to that plea to get her friend off the hook. Yeah.
So she comes forward. She hands herself in. She confesses to the murders, and then she goes on trial. It was very straightforward after that, but she is obviously psychologically assessed during this period. There is a diagnostic tool that psychologists use called the PCLR, the Psychopathy Checklist Revised. It was devised by a guy called Robert Hare, and it assesses like you know basically how likely you to be a psychopath you are, and the cutoff is 30 points. There's 40 points in total, and if you get over 30, you are considered a psychopath.
So it's like golf, where you don't want to get a high score on this.
No, you want to keep it as below par as possible. Yeah. But she scores 32, so she is over the boundary and is officially considered.
What was that
psychopath.
one called? Let me look that up.
The PCLR. It's Hare's PCLR. The
psychopathy test,
PCLR.
right? I'll have to do this one day and find out how. Attention. Psychopathy. I understand.
It's not a test you can take online, really.
What? Yeah.
It's one that's administered.
Oh no! They're asking me. I want to take it. No, I want to assess myself. Questions. Next. Yeah, look, I've got questions. We can do this one day on the stream. Right. We'll do it together. We'll find out how psycho we are.
Can you check how many questions there are beforehand?
21.
I've just said there's 40. There's 40 questions. 40 questions. So.
No, I love it. This is one of these cheap websites where you do answer all your questions, isn't it? And they might not be the exact. It might not. The one we do on the internet might not be, admissible in a.
I don't think it is. No.
Medical setting or a legal setting. Yeah.
This one is actually you could be trained in it. You have to be trained in administering it.
I think one of the questions is, do you have ham or a head in your fridge? So, how many strikes does it take to break a skull with a hammer? I don't know. I'm pretty sure 5.
So, Wuornos is also has the criteria to meet a diagnosis of borderline personality disorder, but she's not officially diagnosed with BPD. It's just that, like people have pointed out, hey, she also fits these traits. So, again, all these things don't necessarily surprise you, considering her upbringing and how she, how the earlier parts of her life went.
I mean, one thing that strikes me is that when she's come forward, she's, like you said, confessed to a litany of cases. So there is something. I know that we're saying that she's come through all these problems in younger life. She seems slightly unhinged just by the look of her, and she's done all this mad stuff. But it's still, there's a sort of it's not bravado. It's like not caring for the result, not caring about what happens next. Just like it feels like, doing the prostitution in itself, then the killing, and even coming forward and saying, like, yeah, I've done all this. It doesn't feel like she's thinking about the consequences so much of her actions, maybe, because she's done all this stuff. Yeah, do you think that is part of that personality aspect?
Well, you see, the thing is, it's not like psychopaths can't plan; they can plan ahead. It's more a case of, because you don't have the empathy for it, you probably don't really care about what happens, because you're not sort of like considering the ramifications of your actions. So she can still plan. She can plan to bring a gun with her, because later on she's planning to kill someone and take the car and tell Tyria, pick me up at this place. Once I'm done with this guy, I'll drive here. You can pick me here, and then we can leave. And then the car's abandoned, Yeah. So she definitely plan ahead. And so she could definitely consider consequences. So the fact that she did come forward is quite impressive, because if you are a psychopath, somebody had to convince you to care about this person. And you wouldn't feel that. So
do you think then it's she's sitting there at home, she's had this conversation, now she has to come forward, it actually is like a burden on her and like a thing she has to get through, because most of us have an instinct for self-preservation, so you would probably think, okay, I should do, but then maybe I should go on the run and just but she has actually gone through with it and come forward. So if it's not just an abandonment of the consequence and I don't care what happens, I'm just going to come forward anyway, then she has, like you said, had this planning involved. Like, that must have been quite a heavy thing for her to have to go through. Like, she's quite, in a way, like other women who kill that we've seen, brave in a lot of these contexts as well. Even though she's a bad chuffer who's done bad things, there's a sense of bravery that most of us don't take that extra step and face this extra level, whether it be being a prostitute, killing people, or putting yourself up and saying, I done the murder. It's very brave, isn't it, then, in that case?
Yeah. In the context that she is in, because again, she could have just abandoned her. It was easier for her to slip away than it was for Tyria to slip away. Tyria had a job, she had friends, she had family, she was known. So if one of her friends or co-workers sees, the campaign, say, have you seen these women? They know and they will be able to say, yeah, that's Taria, I know where you can find her. Whereas Aileen doesn't have as many social connections. She doesn't have as many familial connections. She doesn't have like the career, the co-workers, the people that could chop her in. So it's much easier for her to slip away and like possibly move to another state and carry on there. It would be so easy for her to disappear, but she didn't. She was pressured. She came forward, knowing full well what it meant, but still, at this point, she's like, why do I care about men? Well, they were just animals to me. She fully, openly confessed to all the murders, even though she back and forth about whether these ones were trying to rape her or these ones were only going to try to rape her, you know, but whether it's self-defense or not, she still says, yeah, I killed him. Yeah, I'm the one that shot him, you know. Maybe maybe again, a bit like maybe an element of narcissism to it, where you think you can talk your way out of anything, or you can at least sort of like talk your way out of being charged with this murder. And, you know, I could talk my way out of getting the death sentence. So I'll only be in jail for a few years and then I'll be out again.
So do you think she thought like she would be able to manipulate the process and maybe
possibly like maybe that you're above it. Maybe she saw herself as above it all.
Are we talking about narcissism here, or is she some?
There's an element of that too. Psychopathy. That's often why narcissism, psychopathy, and sociopathy get put together in the and Machiavellianism in the dark triad. There's some traits that bleed over, so it would be fine. It would be understandable if there was an element of that to her as well. If she satisfied that criteria, I really would like to see her PCLR results, but I don't think that's not going to happen. But she was definitely detached mentally, as it were. She was not somebody who had much empathy or was willing to show much. But again, given the start in her life that she had, you could see that being beaten out of you over the first 10 to 15 years of your life by the circumstances that you're in. So
I find it very intriguing this way. Like, you don't know whether to feel sorry for her or angry about, her indiscriminate almost selection of victims. But then they're not indiscriminate, are they? Because they're people who thought they were visiting a prostitute in the first place. So
they were fairly indiscriminate because they were opportunistic. They would be like whoever she could meet in the bar or whoever was like up for it.
So they weren't all visitors as a prostitute. Some people might just be men that they met in a bar and they might have thought they were going to get jiggy with her.
One of them, let me bring up his name. But yeah, most of them, she would sort of, you meet somebody in a bar, Scott, and you don't necessarily know that they're a prostitute, but you think,
I just assumed because she was a prostitute that she'd like solicited these men, said, let's go out and drive out and I'll do the prostitution. And then she switched on them. I didn't realise that some of them might have just be, people she'd met in the street, so to speak. Or no, not in the street, I suppose. People she met in a bar, you wouldn't know, and she'd just sort of chat you up and then...
Chat you up, yeah. So, let me find the name of the guy.
Cool.
One of them was there we go, Charles Richard Humphreys. He was age 56. The oldest one she killed, just for her interest, was 65. He was a retired merchant seaman. But yeah, Charles Richard Humphreys was a retired US Air Force major, a former state child abuse investigator, and a former chief of police. So he was the one who was fully clothed and he'd been shot 7 times.
I was going to say this. Okay, I've got a couple of things to say.
It's raining again. I couldn't be happier. Swish, and then
Curious Cat sent tippies. Really appreciate the thus streams. Thank you both. Big up the MIMPs.
Thank you very much.
Superchuffer owes 30 hugs.
Thank you. I split it with Steve today, obviously, so that's a good one. Like, obviously, they're all good ones, but that's quite a lot of money, so thank you. I would like to say as well, if you're new to us today, obviously we've had this problem with the Eurovision copyright and we're not able to stream on YouTube today, so we're on Twitch. If you're new here, thanks for finding us and joining here. That's brilliant. It's free to follow, but if you want to subscribe and you've got Amazon Prime, then you can subscribe for free with your Amazon Prime. So check that out. It's called Prime Subscription. So you can subscribe for free with your Amazon Prime. And I still get the subscription thing, like the £2.50 or whatever it is. So that's brilliant. Like, if you want to do that, that's all available to you. And, if you feel like you like our Twitch content, that's great. I'm only usually here for playing games. only usually here for playing games, but this is also our backup plan for when YouTube fucks us over. So thanks very much for finding us here. Thanks very much for joining in, and I'm really grateful for the tippies. Thank you. My next question about this chuffer, right, is do you think he's eating his knobby's nuts? I foolishly sent Steve a great big box.
No. I've got
Dairy milk caramels. I foolishly sent him a great big box of foods so that he could eat them on streams. But this guy, you think, well, he's a good chuffer. He's found with his clothes on, so maybe he wasn't trying to prostitute and all that. And he's a chief of police and this and that. But then maybe she doesn't like the police because she's been through this system, and so maybe this guy represents something that she finds even more lashing out.
A male chief of police. They're like the two forces that she's been in conflict with for most of her life, the men and the police. So yeah, it could be that she's like, right, I'm fucking having him. I don't care. I'm not even going to wait until we pull over for a bit in a secluded country lane or whatever. So yeah, but yeah, most of the men were found unclothed. So it's liable she's at least led them on for a moment or two, or they've started getting ready, pulling over, like, right, great.
And it makes me,
you've got a gun.
It makes me think of this almost like there's almost a romanticism with some criminals in the way of the superhero, the Joker.
Joe Boy Watson sent tippies.
God.
Merlin or Panini should bring out a sticker album for female killers. I used to love collecting the stickers for football. I'll swap my Myra Hindley shiny for a Ruth Ellis gold shiny. Steve, stop eating on stream, please. Superchuffer owes 3 hugs.
This is thus. This woman's taken him out and she shot him and he's a police chuffer. So I get that she's almost like got a... That's what I was saying. She's almost got like a sort of... Like the Joker or Billy the Kid or something like that. I get a feeling of vengeance, and that she feels in herself maybe that she's doing some sort of counterbalancing of the world, like she suffered all this injustice and now she's here to bring some, like, in a twisted way, obviously, like serial killers and bad antagonists in media, but she's almost got a sort of anti-hero quality to her as well, hasn't she? Do you think, or am I being wrong in that assessment? What do you think in chat? What do you think, Steve?
See, the thing with most serial killers is that...
Narc Slayer sent tippies. Good to have you back, Steve. Enjoy your new MIC. Big loves Chuffer Red Heart Hash. Superchuffer owes 6 hugs.
Thank you. And it is these tippies that help me to, pay for things on these streams. So that is directly the fund that I've used to send Steve his lovely gift. So thank you. Big, great.
Yeah, the Nobby's nuts are on you. Thanks.
Yeah, that's true as well. Actually, I should have prayed. I didn't realise I've spent their money on Nobby's nuts. Actually, that's a good point. But yeah, long may it continue. Thank you. Yeah. So is she an anti-hero or is she just a chuffer? That's what I want to know.
Well, personally, I feel like she is just a chuffer. See, most of the time, serial killers tend to kill for a compulsion. There's something that makes them want to kill and kill again, and it's not a case of I'm doing it for profit. Whereas Wuornos's were mainly for profit. She was taking these men out under the guise of sex. She would rob them. She would steal any possessions that they had in the car. Then she'd drive the car out and abandon it so that she wasn't caught. But she did it mainly for profit. There was an element of revenge to it. There was an element of seeing men as like lesser to it, but it wasn't a compulsion the same that drove, say, like Ted Bundy or Ed Gein or Edmund Kemper to kill. There were different motivations here, and sort of looking back over the women who kill bits that we've done, there's sort of a couple of themes that have kept coming up. Like the first time was like women who've been sort of abused and then fought back, like Ruth Ellis and the Papin sisters. Whereas this one, it's killing for a profit. It's killing for something other than the urge to kill. So, I mean, two of the other women that we're going to talk about today aren't serial killers, but there is another serial killer as well. So, profit has been profit will be like the overarching theme here.
Joe Boy Watson sent tippies. Can you ask Steve to give me a bit of interaction? I feel like he
sorry,
doesn't
Joe.
like me. I need more from you, Steve. You have got to die to get 3 points. Superchuffer owes 3 hugs.
The thing is, Joe, you've been on our streams quite a lot, and I've been interacting with you, but Steve has not been present for most of that. So you feel like this is this thing about streams, he's still got to get to know you a bit, but I'm sure he is getting to know you today. He will interact with you directly if you want.
I'm not seeing much of chat. Normally on YouTube, I can have the chat on screen mainly, but Twitch isn't letting me mess about with it. So there's this tiny bit here that all on this screen that also gets covered up by my notes. So I'm not seeing much of chat. I'm sorry, Joe. It's not anything personal, I promise. I'm also hard to sort of guide. I will go off on points and forget about things. So that's why working with Scott has been such a blessing. I've had somebody to go, no, wait. We're talking about this. Stay on
although I'm the one that takes us off into random diversions quite a lot of the time, aren't I? But Aileen Wuornos is not an anti-hero. She is a chuffer. She doesn't get a kiss for that reason. I'm not giving her a little kissy. She's not getting a kissy. Did she have a little kissy? She had a little kissy, but then I stopped.
She looks smug there. She looks like, yep, I did it.
This is a really weird one because I find she does. I get what you're saying. Premeditated, vengeful, not a compulsion and all that. But then in other ways, I kind of feel, other than the fact that these were just random men, if she'd have been a bit more selective over her victims, she could have been one of these people that were almost held up as an anti-hero in common society. You know, she'd been a bit more selective over her victims. If you could point to her victims and say they were bad chuffers, then I think she's close to having this almost like a redemption arc in a really dark and sinister way. But no, yeah, she's a bad chuffer.
They were all older men. They were all older men, so she definitely did have a preferred victim, a preferred grouping, like how some male serial killers would go for female escorts, prostitutes that are at truck stops and things because they're easy to kill and dispose of, and nobody really cares if they disappear. The police aren't going to waste their time. So, she did have in that regard, but again, it was sort of opportunistic in that if they didn't go to the pub, she probably wouldn't, or the bar, and start flirting with her. She probably wouldn't have killed them. She probably wouldn't have taken them out and been like, hey, I'll take you out and give you a quick one.
So I just wanted to say, to sleep, to chance to dream. I'm sorry if you felt ghosted on Twitch yesterday. I didn't specifically ghost or anything. I keep up with chat intermittently as can't even remember what we were doing on Twitch yesterday. But I was playing Genshin Impact, wasn't I, and talking about stuff. So I just sort of check in and out. And I'm sorry if I missed any of your chats yesterday. You're not ghosted. You're very much a big part of our streams here. So it's all good in the hood. Colette says she hates Twitch, so I won't encourage her to subscribe here. But if you do have Prime subs, you can subscribe even if you hate it. So it's just another platform, and thank God it's here, because if it didn't, Dust wouldn't be on tonight because of YouTube's silliness. So yeah, we'll get back to Aileen. Now is in the prison, and she's got to go through the court system, and she gets the book thrown at her, I imagine. Then her defence of they were trying to attack me and I'm an innocent didn't stand up to much. So what happens to Aileen?
Aileen is found guilty of six counts of murder and given the death sentence for each one of them. So she has 6 death sentences handed down to her, which I think personally, they should have done a thing where, she's on the table, they stop her heart, and then they revive her again, and then they stop her heart again, and then they revive her again. It's like, that's 1, revive her again, that's 2.
That's intense. But yeah,
well, it's a bit like the whole we're giving you 450-year sentence or whatever.
You can't kill someone more than once, can you? So
the whole thing. So
there is no this is part of our conversation into justice at some point, I believe. The death penalty does not serve to adequately balance the crime.
That reminds me, there is a great video by Jacob Geller called "The False Evolution of the Death Penalty," which I'm going to send you in a bit because it would be really good. A really good episode. I've got a book called The History of Punishment and Torture. I've got some works by Michel Foucault. So it'd be good episode. That.
Thank you very much for the Twitch Prime Twitch Prime, Andy Cockle there. Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. And I'm really sorry to see it
Star Razy would actually be cruel. That was me being a bit facetious, but yeah, that would be very, very cruel. So.
To sleep, perchance to dream. You are a big favourite in chat, so I'm really sorry about that. I'll say it again. So yeah, she's had the book thrown at her. She's been murdered by the state, and that's the end of Aileen Wuornos. Then, yeah.
Well, more or less, yeah. In 2002, she was executed by lethal injection. So yeah, I've still not watched Monster, by the way, but yeah. There is also I did find this out. There is a parody of Dolly Parton's Jolene called Aileen. It's sung by drag actor Willem on the album Songs in the Key of Nope. So okay, so Canada, this woman is one of two that I lovingly think of as my JCS couple, because most of what I found out about these when I first found about them was watching Jim Can't Swim. So we are talking about Jennifer Pan, who was a Vietnamese Canadian woman who hired hitmen to kill her parents and staged the incident to look like a robbery. This included tying herself to the upstairs railings in the house after her parents were shot in the basement. This was in 2010. And yeah, she's currently 36 years old. She's still in prison. She's still alive.
Wow.
She was only born in 1986. So yeah. So yeah, her parents were, I'm sorry if I mispronounced this, Bic Ha Pan and Hue Han Pan. These are Vietnamese refugees who'd immigrated to Canada in 1979. During the 70s and the early 80s, there was like a diaspora almost of Vietnamese refugees to Canada. They were claiming like political asylum. So they met through that community, and they both did quite well for themselves. They worked for an auto parts manufacturer in Ontario. They saved well. They were very sort of like thrifty and with their money. But they managed to, they had a large house, 2 cars, and they had a lot of savings between them. So they did, they were quite not studious. They were quite industrious. They worked hard. They saved the money. They did quite well for themselves. And they also had incredibly high expectations of Jennifer and her younger brother, Felix. So they put a lot of pressure on them to, to do well in school. You have to excel academically. You have to, if you're going to do something, you have to be the best at it. So, if you're into gymnastics, you need to be like gold medal standard. If you're playing if you're playing an instrument, you must be like a skilled musician. They put a lot of pressure on them to perform. And they were also incredibly controlling of their social lives. So their friends were, their children weren't allowed out to see friends. They were supposed to be inside studying or practicing or doing whatever. By the age of 22, Jennifer had never gone to a club. She'd never been drunk. She'd never visited a friend's house or even gone on vacation with a family. They were that controlling.
Let me just pause here then. Like, very controlling upbringing, very strict, I'm guessing. I'm guessing that involved some sort of discipline in the home,
It's not like they were battered or anything. Their parents were just like.
But how do you keep a kid from, doing things?
Yeah.
Discipline must be part of it. Especially.
Yeah. They would be like, you're grounded, or we'll take your phone away from you, that sort of thing.
If she even had a phone.
No, you go back to your room and practice.
Yeah, practice your thing. Do your thing. Yeah, regimented routine and all this. Yeah. It strikes me as well that to the age of 22 is quite a long time for someone to put up with this sort of regiment and routine. Emancipation could have been an option for her, I suppose, could it? If you're 22, maybe you lack socialization. Maybe not doing all this stuff when you're growing up affects you in such a way that you don't feel you can leave and just simply say, "I'm not sorry, parents, but I'm going to go and move now," and just maybe that. What do you think? Do you think? Because the other lady we just looked at had a very violent and aggressive, issue up. This is not that, but I can understand it's almost like you're in prison all your life. You might get really wound up by it, so might not feel you can leave. I don't know. Yeah, you tell me.
Because I mean, like at the age she was, 22, 24, she is an adult at this point. So technically, she could have just left. But it's like, do you have a job? Do you have the money? Would your parents let you? Because she had a boyfriend at one point, and her parents disagreed with her seeing him. Like, you're not hanging out with him. You're not seeing him. You get back round here. You're not allowed to go to the house, to his house. We forbid you from seeing him, basically. So, but she still continued to see him, like behind the backs, like, wait till they've gone to bed, sneak out for a few hours to see him, that sort of thing. Or, like, say, I'm off to school now, I'm off to uni now, and then you just nip round to his house all day. So she would lie to her parents to sort of get around their controlling nature. But again, if you can't support yourself, and your parents have such expectations of you, it can be hard to escape. It can be hard to leave and sort of break from it. So I could see why she's still there at that age. It's like, how you feel like you have an obligation to your parents. You have that instilled in you because that's the way your parents have brought you up. You feel like, they have done stuff for me. They only want the best for me. They are trying to make me better. So maybe I don't want to leave. Or maybe you are getting fed up of it, but there's nobody who supports you. There's nobody there for you to sort of say, mate, you can stay at mine. Come and live with me.
Yeah.
Move in.
Don't have that network. Yeah. I wonder as well.
Again, people at school or college or uni, but you don't necessarily see them of a weekend. You don't go out with them to the club.
She's not allowed to socialize with them, so yeah.
No. So it's how do you go to any of them and go, I need a place to live?
It must have been incredibly frustrating for her, I suppose, over this period of time to grow up like this and to go through, puberty and see other people going out and, doing things, to be aware of it on the television and stuff, and just to be, restricted from life, I suppose. That must have been incredibly difficult for her. Although, as you say, did she have a boyfriend that she would sneak out and see then?
She did, yeah, but her parents disapproved of him. I think he was also Vietnamese, or he might have been Chinese. I forget, but he was also a small-time drug dealer. He would he sold weed basically. So she hung around him because you raise your child to be studious bookworm who excels academically. The moment they're allowed to cut free, they're going to do the opposite of that as possible, which is going to be seeing people partying, doing drugs, smoking. You're going to be attracted to that sort. You wild man, you bad boys. You're going to be attracted to them because they're not your parents. They're not, the sort of studious bookwormy nerds that you're expected to be hanging around or to be meeting. So, yeah.
So I suppose, as the story goes, like you said, she hired people to kill her parents. So the next step is from there, either there's some flashpoint with her parents, or did she construct a plan? And
there is a flashpoint, yeah.
Right.
There is a flashpoint. Because during high school, she'd forge report cards, and sort of say, I'm getting A's, I'm straight A's, I'm a excellent student. But she had an early acceptance to a university because of the grades, but she failed a calculus class. So the university rescinds that application. And now she has to lie to her parents about attending university. So she's out during the day, and what she does is she goes and gets a job in a restaurant, and she also works as a piano tutor because she's quite good at the piano because her parents have made her practice a lot. So she does stuff during the day to get a bit of money, but obviously she also has to tell her parents, I've been at uni all day, here's what I've done. So she starts copying from pharmacology textbooks so that she has notes to show her parents, look, I'm going to uni, here's my notes from today. But obviously her parents find out eventually that she's not going to uni, and they're furious, and her father nearly throws her out. But her mother convinces him, no, let her stay, it's fine. She's misbehaved and we'll punish her, but she's still our daughter, all that stuff. So they strict new rules now. You've got to go back to school, you're going to pass this calculus test, you're going to reapply to university, you're going to stop seeing that bad influence of a boyfriend, all that stuff gone. Now you are working to get your life back on track. And so she has to sort of knuckle down for a bit, but she's still trying to see her boyfriend on the side. But he gets fed up as well. He's like, it's so difficult to see you. So the, on again, off again by this point now, because he's getting fed up of the restrictions being placed on her by her parents. And she's now fed up of the impact that they're having on her life. It's now beyond like a reasonable amount. It's now beyond what she was used to because she's messed up and is being punished. So she starts thinking, I need to get rid of them. I need them out of my life. And because she has a dealer of a boyfriend, somebody who's in with a bit of a dodgy crowd, she thinks he might be able to get me in touch with someone. He might know someone who can, do this. So there's a bit of back and forth where a couple of numbers are passed between people. But what ultimately ends up happening is her boyfriend arranges for 3 acquaintances to stage a burglary. And what they're going to do is they're going to go in, they're going to tie up Jennifer, they're going to take the parents downstairs, they're going to open your safe, give us your savings, all that stuff, and then they're going to kill him.
So there's a financial aspect, because I was going to say you would think you'd have to pay murderers to do this sort of stuff, but she's going to be involved in it. She's going to retrieve.
Yeah, she's the one who's saying, look, they've got this in this safe in the basement is this much money, that sort of thing. So she's involved in it. She's telling him, and it's like, there's your money, there's your pay. All you need to do is make it look like, a burglary.
But is she going to be in the house at the time and like help them to burgle?
She's in the house at the time, yeah. Well, she's not allowed out. She's in the house at the time.
Oh, yeah, of course. So, what am I saying? It's not quite a Fritzl case, is it, where she's like trapped under the stairs or anything? It's just a very strict upbringing. But
it's a very strict upbringing, yeah.
You do feel for her in some context that she's not allowed out and she feels like she's been in prison. But this seems like a very drastic approach to resolving that situation, isn't it? And then, like I was going to say earlier about her, like they're your parents, so yes, you feel like, oh, I hate them because they're making me do this bad stuff, and like, I'd want to go out and but like at the same time, that's your family, and you also love them. So it's very that's one of the reasons it's harder to leave and become emancipated, even if you had financial somewhere to go. Is you're still going through this emotional turmoil of I'm supposed to love my parents, they're supposed to love me, and we're having to separate and like. But to decide to kill them is a very extreme, very very extreme. Path, yeah. So.
But maybe she feels that's it. Maybe she feels like I've tried everything else. I've tried to be nice. I've tried asking them. I've tried explaining my position. I've tried saying, look, I just want to be able to go out. Because it must be horrible for her. When you are at uni, when you're at college or whatever, you go in of a Monday morning and you're like seeing all your classmates that you recognize. You're like, hey, how you doing? How was your weekend? And they're like, oh, I went out partying. Oh, I was at this club. Oh, I got drunk. Oh, me and my mates did this. Oh, we went to do this. We went to watch the football live at the stadium, or we went to this concert or whatever. We went out skiing. We went to like an area nearby where we could go skiing or something. All these things that they can do. And you're listening to this thinking, I wasn't allowed out. I had to stay in and practice the piano. I had to stay in and revise calculus all weekend. And that's your life. That's everything. Every weekend is the same for you. You go back to school or college or uni on a Monday morning and they're telling you, oh, we did this. It was great. And you're like, I had to study. I had to practice. I had to rehearse. So maybe she's like had these arguments so many times throughout her life of, I just want to go out. I just want to hang out with my mates. I'll be back by 12. I'll be back by 11, whatever. You're all these arguments constantly. And you have tried to live a life and you've messed up. And you've been punished for that mess up. And you feel that that's even worse now. It's unbearable now. You thought it was bad before. Well, now that you've failed calculus and they've caught you lying about being at uni, it's even worse. And now they're less likely to listen to you than they were before. They weren't listening to you before as it was. And now you're in even more trouble. Things are even more strict. So maybe you do think, this is it. I can't cope with this. There's no way out of this other than.
So as she's a product of her environment and her parents have like sort of constructed this situation, do you think her parents are in some way to blame for this, their own death? Like, do you think they're in some way, or do you think that it's still quite... how far do you have to push someone before they decide to kill their parents? And will that be an inevitability? Or do the parents sort of, they were bad chuffers, but should not expect to have this, as the end result, do you think?
I don't think you should expect this as the end result. But I think it is the end result of unreasonable expectations of their daughter. And the I think the word, you know, like you get like helicopter parenting. I think it's like an equivalent of that. Her dad was sometimes called the Tiger Dad. He was quite, not like Tiger King, not like Joe Exotic thing, but he was very like protective of her, and he was very like stern with her, and he was very fierce about like what he wanted her to do. And so they were very involved in like all aspects of her life. And the issue is like they have these expectations that she's not meeting, and rather than readjust their expectations, they double down to try and make her meet them quicker or more. And it's the wrong way of going about things, because if the, you know, she wasn't a stupid person. She was clever. She was very like very intellectual. She was very smart, and she could play the piano really well. She played the piano so well that she could teach other people to play it. So, you know, she could do things. She was a capable person, but they expected genius, and what they got was smart, you know. And so rather than reassess their expectations of it, they pushed harder on her to become a genius. And it's not always possible to do that. Sometimes you do reach a limit, and I would imagine that given how much they were pushing her, she probably was past her limit. She was probably struggling with the strain of it all. She's like, I can't be any smarter. I can't like get any cleverer. I'm done. This is it. You know, you want A star level qualifications, but I am at B. You know, I am getting grades of like B and B plus. I can't get A stars. I can't get A pluses. I can't get
So
A
she
plus
felt
plus.
incredible pressure, and that resulted in this. I guess in a way, this is going to sound terrible, but in a way, her parents should be proud that she did end up being quite exceptional and being very organised and efficient in causing. Like, she went over and above the call of duty. She's an A-star murderer because she like sorted this one out, didn't she? So what happened with that then? Like, I assume that she's got away with it because we know all about her story, but like she's definitely managed to achieve her aims. Yeah.
All right, so November 8th, 2010. Jennifer unlocks the front door. The parents have gone to bed. Jennifer unlocks the front door to let them in. She goes upstairs. They go upstairs into her parents' bedroom, and they start tearing the place apart. They ransack it. They hold them up. They hold the parents up. They demand money. And the parents are like, okay, there's money in the basement. There's a safe in the basement. There's money there. It's okay, we'll lead you to go. Okay, down into the basement. They're led down into the basement at gunpoint. There's, I think, $2,000 total in around the house, like various little bits of cash here and there. There's some in the savings. There's some sort of like scattered about in your wallet, or you know, it's change jar or whatever. So overall, the killers get $2,000. That's it. But before they leave, they shoot both the parents. They shoot a mum and a dad multiple times. I can't remember how many each one is hit. I think her dad is hit 3 times. No, I think her mum is hit 3 times and her dad is hit twice. I could be wrong about that. But while she's there in the struggling to, well, she's faking being tied up and she's struggling, she calls 911. And she says, hey, we've been robbed, help, we've been robbed, my parents have been shot, I think my parents have been shot, we've been robbed, and all this stuff. And during the call, you can hear her dad shouting, because her dad is still alive. So an ambulance is dispatched. They get to the house. Her dad is put in a medically induced coma when they get to hospital, and he survives. So obviously, he's able to testify to what happens. And over the course of 3 interviews with police, Jennifer's story completely collapses.
Right.
And it comes out that she's responsible for this, especially once the police get hold of her phone and find a text message history between her and her boyfriend. So, yeah, coupled with her father's testimony, the fact that he survived and all this evidence and the fact that her story crumbles, Jennifer and these 4 men are all given life sentences with the possibility of parole after 25 years. So they still have another 12 years before before parole is possible. But yeah, she is found guilty and is currently in prison.
Wow.
I don't know if you can write to her, actually. I was about to say you can still write to her, but I don't know if you can. I don't know if they do that.
So she didn't do it as efficiently. After all of that, she didn't do it as efficiently and neatly as I thought she might have done. I thought she was like,
See, when you said she was an A-star murderer.
No, definitely a B grade, C minus. Didn't complete the job, and the people she tried to murder ended up with the ones being able to convict her. So, and pretty dark to actually do that to your parents as well, isn't it? The murderers didn't get a lot of money, so they didn't get a lot of. Did the people who shot her do the shooting? Did they get the book thrown at them as well, or is it just?
Yeah, all life sentences, all 4 of them.
So a lot of people got taken down by that quite awful plan to do, a bad murder. I was surprised as well that with that, we talked. Some people have been chatting in chat about getting a job, moving out, and stuff like that. Maybe the option could have been there for her just to steal the money and run away. Like if there was $2,000, that's a start. It seems a real leap to me to go for the murder.
And you're capable of like doing some things. Obviously, she worked in a restaurant. She taught people to play the piano for money. You're capable of it, but it happens a lot in Asian cultures.
Does it? Because I saw that in chat. I didn't know whether to pick that up as like is that a racial slur?
I saw that scrolling past as well. So.
You got some tippies.
Beaklet Jog sent tippies. Scott rein me in on Discord if needs be. Respect YA dude. Steve, I believe prisoners guilty of murder who suffered abuse, hence red mist, should be allowed the chance to attend rehabilitation like the PHYC units for pedos in US. A similar model, would it work? Superchuffer owes 3 hugs.
Okay, so there's a good question. If you were in some way damaged through, your early childhood or whatever, and then you did a murder, do you go to a rehabilitation unit like a pedo, or in that's what they're saying in chat, like psych unit, or is it that death sentence applies? We could probably dig into it really deeply on a proper episode about justice, but by all means answer the question, as an overview if you want.
No, I fully agree that there is always a possibility that rehab could work. The countries with the lowest reoffending statistics and the lowest crime statistics generally have prison systems that are geared towards rehabilitation rather than punishment. So, I would think that if somebody like Jennifer was in prison and was you should send her to rehab. There should be like a sort of a mid period where it's like you're not in prison, but you are still under prison rules, but you are allowed to go out and get a job during the day, or do some work during the day. There's like an element of freedom to it. So rehab is a thing that you are doing as well as getting a job, coming back overnight, staying in, basically the Swedish model, the Scandinavian model is what I'm thinking of. But rehab, I will always sort of like propose, you should do that, because if it's a chance, there's a chance that it might work. And even if it doesn't work, there's still a chance. You still took that chance, and that's fine. Not every chance will work, but for all the cases where it does work, surely that's worth it. So it does get to the heart of like prison as a punishment or as a method of rehab, and how much emphasis we put on rehab compared to how much emphasis we put on punishment. So I mean, you hear about it, prisons are it's a holiday camp nowadays. They've all got Xboxes and TVs and all that, and it's like, well, you need to rehabilitate people when they come out. So I'm always a massive proponent of rehab as a model.
Well, I suppose with this particular, hello Brumvixen just found us in chat. I think with this, and there's also an aspect of she killed her parents specifically because it's her parents and they're the ones doing this stuff to her. So I'm not sure. Like individual cases should be taken individually, maybe, because like I don't think she's a threat to wider society necessarily, is she? She just was in a situation where she felt she needed to get out of it, and this was her like push down a narrow pipeline into doing a bizarre act, or maybe something that's more culturally, understood, but something that we don't really see as being a natural choice. But I don't feel that she's going to go out and start killing people indiscriminately like Aileen Wuornos.
No. Yeah, I feel the same. I don't feel like she is somebody who would go on to kill again and again. She's just somebody who was in a situation where she felt she had no other choice but this desperate action. So, yeah.
Yeah. Was she on Jim Can't Swim?
She was, yeah. The I think it's a mixture of all three interviews. She did 3 police interviews, and I think it's all what's it called? I think it's all like it's like cut up, but it basically goes through the case, and you see at the end, like when they're like, "Hey, Jennifer, you are like, we are arresting you," and she's like, "But what's going to happen to me? You know, what's going to happen now?" And they're like, "We're arresting you. You are going to trial for this." They have to explain to her, "No, you didn't get away with this." So it's interesting to watch.
Classic Jim Can't Swim, isn't it? I think I did see that. It's 2 years old, isn't it? So
Yeah,
I think I did watch that at some point, but it's not settled deeply in my memory. But classic Jim Can't Swim, criminal psychology on YouTube. Big shout. We don't have to shout out Jim Can't Swim because they've got 40 million views and like 200 million people watching them. So.
Yeah.
And I also wanted to shout out in chat. I've done the link to Discord. I've now got 60 people in the Discord. I didn't know it's starting to pop off there. So you can get through that link and you can become part of our Discord. It says Ganji because I was Ganjikidd. I'm Ganjikidd on Twitch. So you get on the Discord and you can have a chat in the different chat rooms there. And I literally am on there like once or twice a week. So I need to get using it more. You know, it says keeps freezing. That might be at your end, Janet Sex. Some people have got problems with their browsers. It might be that opening it in a different browser, maybe using Chrome or maybe using Twitch's native app might be better for your viewing pleasure. We're on Twitch because of YouTube's copyright system struck our Eurovision episode, so it's not a permanent move, but it gives us the ability to keep rolling while I'm not allowed to stream on YouTube for 11 days or so. While we fight that. So yeah, Stephanie Lazarus, on the other hand, has got this like. We're not going to bring up the Jim Can't Swim video, and I haven't prepared the clip. And today we're on Twitch and
briefly
the framing and all that. But she's got this mad stare, hasn't she? She's known for this intense look. So take us back to the start with Stephanie and where she's entered onto the scene in Women What Done Killing.
So Stephanie Lazarus, former police officer. In 2009, she was convicted for the 1986 killing of her ex-boyfriend's new wife. And many people have suggested that she got away with it for so long because she was a police officer. So we will get into that shortly. But first, we need to go back to when Stephanie met John Rutten. The two were at University of California, and they began an on-again, off-again relationship. So this is the late 70s, early 80s when she's at uni. She born in 1960, so she would probably be around, whatever university age is. So you're talking like 79, 80, 81, 19, 79, 80, 81. So they start having like an on-again, off-again thing. They sleep together every now and then. Rutten claims that he never thought of it as anything serious. It was like a friends with benefits thing. But Stephanie felt differently, and so she begins to be a bit obsessed with him. She steals his clothes. She takes pictures of him while he sleeps. She writes in a journal at length about her love for him, and she starts to become a bit obsessed. But then John meets Sherry Rasmussen, who's a critical care nurse, in around 1984, and the two begin a proper relationship.
It's raining again. I couldn't be happier.
Swish and then
Slinky
whoosh.
Socks sent tippies. Managed to get on Discord, another place to meet people. Thanks for that XXX. Superchuffer owes 3 hugs.
Listen, my Discord is not a dating site, so be careful. I know what you chuffers are like. But
any website could be a dating site if you use it the right way. My brother met his wife on Twitter. So
there you go then, I suppose. If you want to use it as a dating site, please go ahead. But yes, it is another way to meet and interact with the chuffers. I'll tell you what it's good for as well is if you want to send pictures and you want to send, like a lot of people want to send us stuff for the podcast or, it's hard to send away,
collate things.
Like we can even if there's a particular issue, we can set up its own chat room and we can have a chat room just for that thing, and you can put all your stuff in there. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's got endless chat rooms, so we can make a new room for the new issue, and you can put all your pictures in there or whatever. So yeah, go ahead, enjoy that. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for that. Send nudes, says no. Jesus, that is how that sounded. Whatever you said it was. Send news. Send trees, mate. Send trees. That's what I am. Send trees. So yeah, let's go back to the send news. Send trees. I'm send trees. I'll put it in chat. Send trees. That's me. We're going back to Women What Done Killing and Stephanie. I don't know how I'm going to edit this out. I might just have to leave that bit in. I'm going to have to look for every tippy, because it's every time we have a tippy I do it, isn't it? It's every time I have a tippy. So we're going back to Stephanie Lazarus. She was infatuated by her boyfriend, and then they've broken up, and that's just a thing that happens. But normal people don't sort of steal things from their house. They can smell them or whatever. But they've been infatuated, they've broken up, and life has gone on for her. So let's continue with Stephanie. Well, I try and moderate chat. You talk, Steve. You talk.
Yeah, okay. You carry on, it's fine. John's met somebody else, Sherry Rasmussen. They've started a proper relationship, and he soon proposes. And so the two are like, we're on to get married. And when Stephanie finds out about this, she's heartbroken. She's devastated. She can't believe that he's being serious with this woman and not him. So, she goes to meet him, and they talk, and then they have sex again, one last time. John says it's to give her closure. That's it. We're done. One last, and many of us have done that where it's like, I know we've broken up, but, one last go, and then that's it. They're over. Sometimes that's like the best sex of the relationship. But yeah, I want to point out at this moment that cheating on your bride is like, it's a pretty shitty thing, but it's not behavior that warrants the murder of your fiance. It's not something. John was a shitty person here. He behaved in a shitty way, but that doesn't sort of excuse what Stephanie did. So, I sort of want to point that out because, yeah, it was a shitty thing that he did. But, yeah, still, ultimately, she shot a partner. So,
yeah, in no way. They don't seem to, definitely don't correlate together. One doing that and then the other doing the other. So, do continue.
Yeah. So Stephanie starts like making excuses to visit the couple at home. Sort of like dropping it. Hey, John, just dropping in to bring this thing back to you. Or, hey, John, I've got a favor to ask for you. Can you do this? At one point, she comes round and she's in uniform, and she's like made sure her gun is like very prominently visible. Normally, it's like off to your side a bit, but she moves the belt around a bit, so it's quite visible. So there's like a hint there, and Sherry starts getting like quite unnerved by this, and she's like, John, will you tell her to stop coming round? And John's like, don't worry, it's fine. There's nothing there. She's just, finishing up a few things. We're still friends, we're still friends. So, but there's nothing there. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And then Stephanie starts to turn up at Sherry's place of work. So Sherry's like getting quite worried by this point, because this woman has a gun. She's been stalking and harassing her and her partner, and so she tells her dad, "Look, I'm really worried about her. I think she's stalking us." She said, "If I can't have John, no one else will." So a bit worried. But this doesn't stop the wedding going ahead. Naturally, John and Sherry get married in November 1985. They are now the Rasmussens. They're now the Ruttons. Sorry. But on the evening, February 24th, 1986, so they've been married for 4 months. John comes home from work and he finds that Sherry is dead on the living room floor. She's been shot 3 times. The house is a bit of a mess. It looks like there's been a bit of a struggle. There's broken glass on the driveway. There's a bloody handprint near the phone. The garage door's open and Sherry's BMW has been taken. But at the time, there had been a recent spate of burglaries in the area. So police assumed it was the same people. And Sherry had disturbed them as they were breaking in, and, they shot her and ran. They assumed it was a robbery gone wrong. So they just like, right, well, it's obviously these people. Will use the same information that we've been using to ask people about the burglars. Here's, the witness description of like 2 Latino men that have been alleged to be the burglars. So they don't really look into any other theory. They just think that's what it is. Obviously, looks like a burglary. Someone's broken in. She's disturbed them. It's gone wrong. Then they've run. It's clearly that. despite John and Sherry's dad telling the police about Stephanie and what's been going on. The police don't look into that anymore. They just run with this idea that it's a burglary. And because there's no leads on that case, it eventually goes cold. So, yeah, it sits there waiting. And Stephanie is basically free for all these years until 2009, where crime levels have dropped in LA. And the police are now like, look, we've got a clearance rate. Let's keep it up. Let's go over some cold cases and see if we can crack them. So they open a bunch of cold cases and they're like, look, new advances in DNA technology and testing and things. Let's, give some cases another look and see if we can finally solve them. So they come to the murder of Sherry, and they take another look at it, and they now have DNA testing that allows them to determine that the suspect is female, because obviously back in the 80s they didn't really have that capability. So now they can.
Give me a time out here for a second, right?
Yep.
Stephanie herself is a police officer.
Mm-hmm.
So she's done this murder, and she's got this insider knowledge on how they're going to operate, what the police are going to look for. And back then, they didn't have the DNA testing. Is that right?
To determine much like that, yeah. I'm not sure if I've mentioned it here, but they also... one of the pieces of evidence that comes up later is that the ballistics evidence, where they can determine that the bullet that was... the bullets that were fired from a gun that is compatible with the ammo that the police forces use, because obviously the police can only use like certain guns and certain ammo. They can only carry certain ones with them. You can't just buy your own gun for the police. It has to be a standard issue, and you have to like register and write up reports when you take it out, when you aim it, fire it. You have to go through all that. So Stephanie has this gun, but she has registered it as missing.
Right.
It's not a standard firearm, it's a backup one. And you're in trouble if you register your standard firearm as missing, but your backup one, you're not in as much trouble. You can just say this one's gone missing somewhere. So you will be, you'll be given a new one. But if your standard one goes missing, that's when you're in trouble. That's when you have to say, right, where were you? When did you last have it? What happened? So she avoids that. She uses a second gun. And that piece of evidence gets swept away as well. No one investigates that at the time. So when they're coming back now to look at it, they're like, right, well, she had a gun that was compatible with the ammo that we know was used to kill her. She had, she's female. We have a list of suspects of 5 women that we know, and we've narrowed it down to her because the other 4 have decent alibis. They've got good alibis here. So let's look at Stephanie now. And so they have a look at where Stephanie is, and they're shocked to find she's still serving in the LAPD. She is now a detective, and she specializes in art theft cases in the commercial crimes division. So they're now like, right, she has insider knowledge. Like you said, she knows what will be happening. So if we bring her in for questioning, she's going to know something's up, and we don't want to tip her off. So we're going to have to be crafty about this. They get a DNA sample from a coffee cup, and that matches DNA found in a bite mark on Sherry's cheek. And this bite mark was inflicted post-mortem. So after Sherry had been shot, Stephanie had gone and bitten her. So
without the inside, I was going to say, with the insider knowledge of being a police detective or whatever, or a police officer, you'd have thought that she'd have been very careful, not left to this, done that, made it look like. But instead, as you say, she used her own police issue weapon, which she thought that, just say it's gone missing, and then she bit the corpse of the person she killed, which is obviously a definite mistake in terms of getting away with the perfect crime. So she had insider knowledge, and at some point she tried to use it to cover her tracks, but in other points, like, there's something that compelled her to do some really strange behaviours then, yeah? I'm just going to put my little fringe on for a second and just go like, do my mad staring eyes.
Yeah, not bad actually, yeah.
That's, okay, thanks. I've been wanting to do that for a while now, yeah.
No, I got my hair's too long. So, yeah. they know that like if they go to her and like can we get a DNA sample or can we have you in for we've got a few things to ask you, she's going to be immediately on guard. She's going to tip her off that something's up. So instead they say, we've been given an art theft case, would you mind like coming and talking to us about like how we should investigate it and all that, because we're not familiar with this sort of thing. So they invite her into the interrogation rooms at the department's headquarters because it means that she has to surrender her gun before she can enter. And the police were planning to arrest her immediately after the interview. And you can actually see at the end of the interview, she walks out. And after a few minutes, she's brought back in, sits back down, and is read her rights. Right. So she is arrested off camera, but it does happen there. But the way they conduct the interview is amazing. It's recorded. It's from like a camera on a table. You can see Stephanie. She's sat like against the wall, in like a corner of the room, so she's got nowhere to go. She's backed up. Even that's a deliberate choice. But she, they're like, hey, this isn't an official questioning or anything. This isn't an official interrogation. You're free to get up and walk out if you want. But she stays and talks because, again, huge element of narcissism. Thinks she's better than, thinks she can manage her way out of this. She can talk her way through it. She can convince them, nah, I don't need, it's fine. She can talk her way out of anything. She's been got away with this for years. So she's probably like, I know me shit. I know I'm a police officer. I can do it. So yeah. But they let her talk for a bit and they let her ramble if she needs to. But they do always bring it up. Sometimes they'll talk about other things, like not related to police matters, just to sort of like get her comfortable, let her talk about this for a bit. But they always keep bringing it back to John and Sherry, and they always keep bringing it back to, when did you meet him? When did you break up? When was the last time you saw him? Did you hear about what happened to her? All that stuff. They keep bringing it back to her. And she would ramble and claim like, I don't remember much. I don't remember. Like, when was the last time you saw John? Oh God, geez, right. Well, we met in the 70s. We met at college. That was this. I remember going skiing once with him. And that it's a proper dark side film moment of rambling to avoid addressing the question and sort of like semanticing and skirting your way around. She's very good at it, and they let her do it at times and then pull her back in. So eventually she just goes, look, am I a suspect or what? And they say, well, we wanted to ask you for DNA because we've got DNA from the scene now. Thanks to advances in DNA technology, we've now got DNA from the scene and we wanted to ask you for a sample. She declines and leaves the room. And that's when, after a few moments later, she brought back in and sort of like arrested. So
this is one of these where Jim Can't Swim's done the interrogation video, and we all love a bit of Jim Can't Swim. So it like you say, it is a fascinating video. It's not one of his longest, but it is definitely fascinating.
No, it's to watch her through the interview is really fascinating because again, they'll ask her a question of like, so when was the last time you went to their house? And she's immediately like, oh gosh, I can't remember. Well, it must have been a minute. Like if you scroll down and see some of the comments, you'll see people sort of like commenting on that. They'll be like, yeah, she was. So Stephanie, where was it? Oh Jesus, it was the start of the universe,
And so she, unlike many other of these women that killed, like she didn't seem to. There wasn't a provocation. I mean, you could say that the jilted lover having some other fiance was the provocation in her mind, but it wasn't really like she'd suffered in any strengthy way. Or
it wasn't a flashpoint. If she'd done it like a couple of days after the wedding, you could say, hey, that was your flashpoint.
But even then, they're not. But you should be able to handle a breakup. In life, people get together and break up. It doesn't mean you start murder. Like the other women had been like really, pushed down and had a lot of, things done to them. Whereas this one, like not so much. Just didn't. Like she has her own. Like she's a much more, in my opinion, like dangerous loop in a way, because like just didn't like the fact that she'd broken up with someone, so decided to start doing some killing. Like, just seems really out there again, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the fact that there's just such like a rage in her against this woman because she obviously, once she shot her, that wasn't enough. She had to go and fucking bite her. You know, there was definitely like a rage there to it. But again, like compared to the others, she's killing for profit in a way. She's like, I want this woman out of this man's life. I want rid of her. You know, just like how Jennifer wanted rid of her parents to make her life better. She felt, I want this woman out of my life, and then I can have John again. You know, that'll be great. But what ended up happening was John didn't. And like many have said, she got away with it for so long because like her father, not her father, Sherry's father and John were like, look, you need to look into Stephanie. She's been like following us, harassing us, stalking us, turning up at the house and all that. And the police didn't. The police sort of brushed that to one side. And many have said that's because she was a police officer and they're protecting their own. So there's a lot of criticism there for the police force, but ultimately she was caught in the way that she was. And we have the amazing footage of it to go over it because she is full on narcissist. And to see her trying to worm her way away from this subject that is very obviously, you know, what she's there to talk about, what they want her through, what they want her for, sorry. She knows. I think at some point she's aware and she's like, oh fuck, I need to talk my way out of this again. Why do they keep going back to John? Why do they keep asking me about her? And then eventually, are you am I a suspect here? It's great. It's a brilliant video. So highly recommend it. And just for spoilers,
yeah, what happens to
she's
it?
found guilty of first-degree murder in 2012, and she's currently serving a sentence of 27 years to life. She'll be eligible for parole in 2039, by which point she will be 79 years old.
So she might have a chance of actually getting out, which is another one of these strange. Like, we won't talk about the justice system too deeply here, but yeah, she might have a chance of getting out. But then again, hopefully not likely to go and murder unless this guy's had other relationships and she's keeping a track. Like, not likely to go out and murder some other people, maybe. I don't know. Like,
I don't think it's one of them where it's like, it's not necessarily a serial killer, but it's the motivation for killing that was the interesting thing. Is she wanted this woman out of her life so she could have a man, and she didn't get it at all. So yeah, I don't think she'll be having a boyfriend for a while now, to be fair.
yeah, she's definitely not getting a kissy from me. Yeah, no kissy from me. So that was Stephanie Lazarus.
You do Myra Hindley, but not her.
Yeah, but no kissy. Myra Hindley, like, you know, as we discussed, has that X factor. Stephanie Lazarus has that next factor. Like, stay away from me. Next, like, she's got that crazy stare. It would put me off. So the next one we're going to do will be our final one for the evening, won't it? And I will quickly say before we end, all streaming for me will be on Twitch this week because, like, until YouTube sort their shit out, I'm not allowed to stream on there until they sort out their copyright strike. So all streaming this week will be on Twitch for me, but I'll be uploading it to YouTube, so it will exist there. So either way you want to consume it is fine. But yeah, I hope, like, you know, you still watch things on YouTube. There will be a portion of the audience who have not watched this on Twitch who will watch it on YouTube, but it's just going to mess me about for a week, isn't it? So I'm really grateful everyone's found us here today. If you want your Twitch,
thank you for coming over.
Twitch has got free Prime subs, so if you sub with Prime, you can do that. And look out for the upcoming episodes this week that will all be on Twitch for me now, which will be a right nightmare. So we've got one more women that done killing. This is a Mexican one, so I might have a couple of mispronunciation errors, but this is another serial killer, and it's one that not many people know about. What's her name?
Mexican. This is Juana Barraza. She is also known as Mata Viejitas, the little old lady killer, and La Dama del Silencio, the lady of silence. Juana Barraza is known as the La Dama del Silencio, the Lady of Silence. That was her wrestling name. She is a former lucha libre professional wrestler. And between 1998 and 2006, she killed 16 elderly women, though it's estimated that the true number of her victims is between like 42 to 48-ish. From what I've been able to find, because again, it's a Mexican case, so there's not much in English. But from what I've been able to find about her early life, she was born in a rural area in Hidalgo, which is north of Mexico City. And again, she did an incredibly difficult upbringing. Her mother was an alcoholic who traded her at the age of 13 for 3 beers to a man who repeatedly raped her. He kept her in a house, tied her up, raped her repeatedly, and she would eventually become pregnant to this man and give birth to a son. And it took 5 years for her uncles to find and rescue her, as her mother had lied to them and told the rest of the family that she'd run off with the man by herself. So an incredibly shitty childhood already, because like by the age of 14, you are already, again, like Aileen Wuornos, you've been raped repeatedly, you're pregnant to one of your abusers, and at this moment no one's coming to rescue you. Sadly for Aileen, there was no one to rescue her, but Juana had uncles that still cared about her. She had family that still cared, so they came and rescued her. But unfortunately her mum didn't, so that's how you end up in this situation in the first place. And she always resented her mother from that afterwards. That's why her victims are all elderly women. She grew up to resent older women like that, and she's claimed that herself. It's not like a speculation thing. It's again like Aileen hating men because of the things that men have done to her. Juana hated her mum and elderly women because of the things that her mum was responsible for. So yeah. So yeah, as she's growing up during the day, when she's been rescued, and obviously she starts to have a bit more of a semblance of normal life. She works as a street vendor during the day, selling stuff, and at night she worked as a professional wrestler, because obviously lucha libre is incredibly popular in Mexico. It's a huge style of professional wrestling. When you think of wrestling, you think of the WWE, but lucha libre is different. It's faster, it's more acrobatic, it's more stylish. It's closer to a dance than like WWE is, and it's like comic books. It's like seeing live action comic books. The wrestlers are all presented as like heroes and superheroes. They all wear masks to cover their identity. The mask is a very important part of lucha libre wrestling. It's like almost like your character. It's who you are. So she takes on this persona of the Lady of Silence, and she starts working like the independent scene around the area that she's living in. She starts doing wrestling matches during the evenings, and she becomes fairly popular actually as a wrestler. La Dama del Silencio. You can see it. There's a picture of her on screen right now, holding a belt of some form.
Yeah.
It's on a pro wrestling wiki. So yeah, so it's I can't like sort of really I can't really overestimate. I can't really over exaggerate even how popular lucha libre is in Mexico. It's very, very popular. It's bigger than the WWF is in America or worldwide. It's very huge cultural thing.
So she's like a proper star, like proper.
She did all right, yeah. She never became like Hulk Hogan level, but
like she's got that's another level of like
yeah. So she's establishing herself there, right? So she's obsessed, because like most people in Mexico, she's obsessed with lucha libre. She loves it, so she works out a lot. She puts in the effort. She goes to the gym a lot. She learns moves and holds and things. But this also helps her get away with it for a bit, because not only is she strong enough to like overpower her victims, but most of like the eyewitness descriptions of the person fleeing from houses where old women are found dead are fairly tall, quite broad, very muscular. So they automatically assume it's a man. These victims are sort of like choked, they're put in holds and choked. She has like headlocks and chokes on them to put them out, or if she's not garroting them. And the police are obviously like, this takes strength. This must be a man that we're looking for. Eyewitness descriptions are like somebody broad and muscular, so they refuse to consider that it's a woman. When people say there's a serial killer active in the area, the police refuse to believe that, and they describe that as media sensationalism imported from America. And so they look in the wrong places. They look for men. They also look for transgender men. They start harassing transvestite and transgender communities, because some people have described seeing a masculine-looking woman. So the police are looking there instead, and while they're looking in other places, she's still walking around, being able to get into people's houses and kill. She gains access to the victims' houses by posing as like a government official and says, "Hey, I'm here to sign you up for like welfare programs and things. You know, there's like a new welfare program for elderly people to help you with like electric costs or heating or whatever." She gets in to their houses, so like say, let's go through the forms and everything. And then once she's in there, she strangles or garrots, occasionally bludgeons, but mostly getting them in a headlock and, you know, with your bicep in between your arm, choking them out. Then she robs them. Once the victims are dead, she robs the place and she flees. And this goes on between 1998 to 2006. In 2006, she's caught fleeing the home of her latest victim. And that's when police realize, oh shit, that's quite a masculine looking woman there. Fuck. We've caught the killer. She resembles composite images, you know, like your e-fits that they've had put up, and fingerprint evidence ties her to at least 10 of the killings, though she does only confess to 4. And this is the point where she goes, yeah, I'm killing old women because I hate my mum. You know, it's all because of how my mum treated me as a child. I've grown to resent older women. So yeah, she's put on trial. Even though she's confessed to 4 murders, she's found guilty of 16 counts of murder and aggravated burglary, as if that's, you know, much on it. And she found a further 11 separate accounts of murder, and she's currently in jail serving 759 years. She's currently age 65, so, you know, yeah, it's going to be a while till she gets out. But
she's become the very thing that she hates as well, which is an
older woman. Yeah.
But I wouldn't. I find that very strange to imagine. Like, you know, I've usually got lots of questions for you, but this one is just a strange story of someone who has their own power, strength, and success, and then decides to kill old ladies. And the idea that you would resent them in that way to want to kill them is either a very twisted psychopathy or just a weird story. But then she has done the killing, hasn't she? So do you believe her that she hates old ladies, or is that normal to hate old ladies? I haven't heard that one before as a motivation for being a serial killer.
Well, Ed Kemper did.
Right.
Edmund Kemper hated older women. That's why a lot of his victims were older women, and that's why he specifically cut off his mum's head, tore out her vocal cords, and threw him in the garbage disposal.
Right.
And yeah, just like Aileen Wuornos hated men because of how they treated her, this isn't the case of, well, I've been treated badly by this person, so I hate these people.
That's true, yeah.
It's just uncommon because normally, again, we're talking about a murder for compulsion normally with serial killers, whereas these are different. These are almost revenge-like. She's doing it for profit because she's robbing the places, but she doesn't need to do that. You know, she's earning enough through either selling in the street during the day or wrestling, so she's not doing too bad. And if she'd sort of like worked at the wrestling a bit more, she might have been a bit more established in Mexico at least. Because occasionally the WWF will get people from Mexico to come and wrestle for them, like people like Rey Mysterio or oh god, what was he called? The guy who kept botching Sin Cara. So yeah, it's if she'd have sort of like stayed clean and sort of like worked on the wrestling, she might have been able to make a thing out of it. But she doesn't. She has something else going on. She's got this resentment inside her, and so she wants to kill to get that out. So it's not necessarily a murder for compulsion thing, but it is stemming from the same well that normally does. You know, I just found it interesting because she's, you know, normally with women serial killers as well, there's normally an element of male involvement. You know, there's normally like a Fred West or an Ian Brady there.
Yeah.
You know, or there's Aileen Wuornos where you've got this horrible history with men. But here, it's women after women, and that's much rarer. Normally, it's male serial killers after either men like Jeffrey Dahmer, Dennis Nilsen, or it's after women like Ted Bundy and Ed Gein.
Absolutely.
Or it's women after men. Women after women is much rarer, and especially because she was so strong because you can see her holding the belt. She's
Yeah.
big biceps, big legs. She's a muscular woman, So that sort of influencing the police as well. So like saying, "Oh shit, we need a man. It's obviously a man. A woman is not capable of this strength. This must be a man," And people are saying, "Well, a masculine-looking woman. Oh, well, it must be someone transvestite or transgender. Then let's go investigate those communities," and refusing to believe that all these murders of old women in their homes that look like that are robberies. The police are refusing to believe that they're all the same person. The police are just like, it's just crime, just happens in America. Another old woman's been killed. It's robberies, it's burglars, it's not a serial killer. And the reality was that it was a serial killer. It was she was a woman, not a man, not transgender. She was straight up cis person who was just a bit bigger built than most other women, was able to get access to these vulnerable people and kill them. I'd be
interested. It would be interesting to find out if, we will never know, obviously, but it'd be interesting to know if she picked these victims simply as they fit the profile of the people that she was angry about, or whether they themselves were actually.
No, we do know. We do know. She said during the interview. Yeah,
what I mean is the
motive is, I hate these women.
But what I mean is I've worked with some people who have been very difficult to work with, and then I've worked with some people who've been very nice to work with. But from a distance, they both, a certain age, a certain profile. But when you get to know them, they turn out to be whatever, So I wonder whether she'd had interaction with these people and thought, "You're a right chuffer. I seen you being mean to the kids. Right, you're going to get it." Or whether it's just you're an old chuffer, you fit the profile, right, you're going to get it. I wonder if it was actually.
Oh, yeah, no, there was no sort of knowing the person before deciding to kill them, like with Aileen Wuornos flirting with the man at the bar before taking him out, and then there was none of that. It seemed to be opportunistic. She just see an old person and think, right, you.
Yeah, exactly. So that's bad as well. Because with Aileen Wuornos, I get the impression that whether it's flirting with the man at the bar or whatever, she's the man at the bar might have come over and said, "So you," smacked her on the arse and said, "Hey, baby," and instead of saying "fuck off," she's been like, "Right, you tonight." I feel like there's an element of that in it. But with this, preying on old ladies simply because you've got a predilection for murdering old ladies is pretty fucking messed up. Even no matter what old ladies have done to you in your life, isn't it? So she gets a 2 out of 10 no kissy.
There is a filter for her. There is the old ladies living alone. Once you realize, oh, she lives on her own, right? Okay, you go back home. You get your government looking dresser. You get your clipboard and everything, and then you pick her. But it is still ultimately older women. So it's not necessarily opportunistic in that way that Aileen Wuornos was, but there is more of a definitely got a type. It's you. So,
saying in chat there, she was a coward.
She was,
but then
I would argue that she was. But most serial killers
wrestling. She was out there, big, strong wrestling. Not completely a coward. It's fake, isn't it? You don't really get punched, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but you've still got to throw yourself at the floor for 10 to 20 minutes, haven't you?
Yeah, so it seems strange there's that contrast. I would agree she's a coward for killing old ladies. That's a cowardly act, but I would be surprised that someone of her stature and profile and abilities would feel to commit these cowardly acts, because in the rest of her life she wasn't much of a coward.
You've got this sort of impression on the ring, in the ring anyway, of this woman that gets, you're the lady of silence, no talking, no fucking about, just straight up wrestling, and she's there with the championship belt, looking fucking arms on me, look at my biceps, she'd probably command she'd be a figure in wrestling. You'd be like, wow. She'd have a reaction from the audience. If she's playing a face, they'd love her. If she's playing a heel, they'd boo her. But either way, they know that you don't fuck about with La Dama del Silencio. Whereas, obviously, outside of that, she's just got all this rage inside of her because of what she's been through, and she's like, I need to vent this, and it's not getting out any other way. Especially if she's wrestling, she's probably wrestling women of about her age or slightly younger. Because and
also now she's in prison as well. She's probably quite a dangerous prisoner because she's already got this predilection for killing older ladies, and she's in prison with a load of ladies. So she's probably quite a difficult one to. Yeah, she's going to rot in prison forever, I suppose. That's the silver lining to this cloud. I don't know how to take us from here to the end of the episode.
Yeah, unlike Jennifer, who could be released, she's in for life.
I don't know quite how to finish off now. Like today's, I've
Oh yeah, we
personally-
didn't plan a decompression thing, did we?
Yeah, we didn't plan a decompression, and personally, I felt today quite stressful, so I need one more than ever. But I know what we should be shouting out. We should be shouting out a certain video.
Your guest appearance on my channel. Yeah.
I'm going to copy and paste this into chat now because I will be copy and pasting this as we sign off for the next like 10 minutes. I'll be copy and pasting this into chat. Steve's new video, DSP's mum did his hair until he was 17. So if you're just coming in to chat now, and where's my favourite bit? My favourite bit is this edit of the two clips back to back. If I could find my own comment in amongst these hundreds and hundreds of comments.
Because you're in, you did it on battery exhausted, didn't you? And
yeah.
Yeah, that's why it's not showing your comment.
I was going to say, like, watch battery exhausted. Like, it's still there this week, but I can't stream on any of my YouTube channels unless I use my alternate
account.
account.
Struck all your channels, so you
it's the rule is that you're not allowed to stream on your alternate. Like, you can stream. I could go on there and stream now.
Oh yeah, you're not like ban evasion.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm not going to be fucking about with the rules, am I? But I do have alternate YouTube accounts that if that one was shut down, I'll just start up on the other one. But I don't want to go through all that hassle, do I? So. YouTube, they're going to have to understand that the fair use is fair use. This is what this is the basis of the video here that we're going to be looking at, that you're going to be looking at in your free time, that Steve has uploaded to his channel. So here we go. Come on. Why can't I hear him? I'm muted. I've muted it.
My
mobile games.
Yeah, Steve.
Because all the way until I was like maybe 16, 17 years old, my mom always did my hair like that. No. My mother did not comb my hair till I was 16 or 17.
It is one of my favourite joys as a detractor, and I don't indulge it enough, but there are enough clips of Phil saying something that you can very easily get him saying one thing and then cut to him saying the exact opposite. So we could say, like, I don't play mobile games, and then you cut to him in the interview going, I've always said I play mobile games. I don't play WWE Champions. Yeah, the mobile game I'm playing is Champions. I never said I wanted to smack an 11-year-old girl. Cut to, I would have smacked the shit out of that 11-year-old girl. It's great. It's so much fun. So,
and it also includes this bit that we had a chat together, and I explained some of my hairdressing career, and I showed about my hairdressing salon and some of that, and we had a look at some of these
top tips.
Yeah, gave some top tips.
Yeah.
And we looked into Phil's hair, and Steve's done it's a deep psychological breakdown of somebody who's having a deep psychological breakdown. So.
Well done.
Caught in a lie. DSP said his mum did his hair until he was 17. So I suppose for decompression, did your mum do your hair till you were 17? When did your mum stop doing your hair, and what was your first haircut that you had that was your first big haircut of your own? Do you remember, Steve, when you took control of your own looks? Did you just simply let it grow, or have you had any shaven parts? Or
I had to have it cut when I was a child, and I hated it. I wanted long hair, like all throughout my childhood. My dad's mate was a biker who was into heavy metal, and I remember seeing him come into our house one day, and he had like all his leathers on, and his hair was really long, and I was like, he looks so cool. I want to be like that. And he's like, your best mate, where you're like, oh, he's such a tool, that guy. He's such a knob. Don't be like him. Like that's like how my dad was, and it really bothers me, dad, that I've ended up like trying to emulate his mate. So. But yeah, so I had like my parents would force me to get it cut a lot, but I kept moaning about wanting it growing longer. And I see what my parents were doing, because I got a lot of shit for having long hair at school. I got a lot of bullying, a lot of shit thrown at me. More than once, I had to have my hair cut by a teacher because somebody had thrown chewing gum in it.
What?
So they had to, they did. Yeah. I remember specifically like in the geology class as well. It was like a bit where like your admin and the teachers would sit while everybody was out in the physics class, and I remember sitting in there while the geography teacher was cutting my hair, and there was like a physics class going on, and they were like working out how to wire plugs and things. So yeah, I had a lot of shit because of my hair through high school, but it was like just around like the first year of high school when I was like, this is my hair now, and my parents were like, all right, fine.
I think, to be honest, in the first year of high school, even though I kind of had my own free choice, I still had the side parting and the little Harry Potter glasses, and I was still a little studious boy.
Yeah.
And then as I went to about, I think, the age of 13 in the third year, like second year, get a bit naughtier. Third year was the year that I started having like undercuts and things shaved into my head, and my mates like were into the
You
music
still
a
have
bit.
one
so.
of my dinner pass cards, and that's like me in the first year.
Little Steve. There you go, little Steve.
Yeah.
Not long hair on that one.
No, that was still when it was being cut. But that's Tutor Group 76, dinner pass 1995 to 96. So that's like my first year in high school.
And then I definitely had long hair. I could find this as well by doing search Twitter for. I'm pretty sure I can find this.
Thanks, Snips. My hair's on chat. My hair's on point today. Thanks.
I had this is my old Twitter, and I'm sure there's a picture on here of me when I was younger with longer hair. If I'm
Oh God, yeah. I know the one.
yeah,
Is it in a newspaper, Scott?
yeah, little newspaper cutting from when I was. There it is.
Just go to your DMs. There you go. Yep.
Yeah, that's me in the little newspaper cutting from when I was that was 15 years old. So I was naughty by then. I was starting to get naughty, but 14, 15 years old. That was the length that your hair was allowed at school before they forcibly cut it.
Yeah.
So that's how long I had my hair at that juncture. Yeah. That's why it looks like it's just been bobbed off there as well, because it fucking had to be, the bastards. My school was quite strict about that. So what I did one day was I went to the barber and I said, underneath, do the undercut and get BCFC shaved in it. And then I went to school like that and it got spotted. And my dad shaved the back of my head with his face razor and got it all cleared out of there. So I didn't do that again. But
Scott, would you like to tell chat who that reminded me of? Who your haircut reminded me of?
I can't remember now. I think was it Babylon Zoo Intergalactic Spaceman? Was that it?
It was Jazz Man from Babylon Zoo. Yeah.
So wait, who's that?
Babylon Zoo Jazz Man. It's M-A.
I remember it. Spaceman. I always wanted you to go like this chuffer.
Really done. Don't worry. I know.
Like this chuffer.
Do you want to get on there?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's the same hair.
Bob. So yeah, we decompressed. We're all good in the hood. Thank you all for being here today on this slightly more chaotic, slightly more difficult. I've now got to edit and put up. I might as well try and edit a bit of it and cut out some of the crap if I'm going to be uploading it. That's the Tippies link if you want to send any more Tippies. We'll be on Twitch all week, and then I'm back on YouTube when I get back on YouTube. So look out for that. Steve's new video is about Phil and his hair. But it's also a deep dive into lying, narcissism, twisting the truth.
I am going to start uploading non-Phil content as well. Scott and I have talked about this, and there are some times here where I would like to elaborate on things, but for the sake of keeping the stream moving and finishing, we sort of move on.
Yeah, because like today we've covered a lot of stuff, haven't we? And you could take any of those and sort of unpack it a bit more. And Steve's got a psychology channel, so that's a good place to do that.
Doing that. I'm going to start doing that soon as well, so there will be non-Phil stuff coming, and also it won't be as interrupted by my cat stroking against the microphone and wibbling my camera about because the tail is whacking into it. So yeah. Audrey, my op has currently been delayed. I don't have an official date for my next op at the moment, so not right now, but I did actually get a letter in the post today. I have an appointment with a different person now. It's a new person in June, the 22nd, I think. And I think I've been passed on. I think the specialist has sort of looked and said, we can't fit him in, we'll pass him on. So I'm going to have another meeting with someone soon. So I'm assuming I will get it eventually, but I've not got a date now. But for now, I'm going to be hanging around for a bit. And I'll still be here at Mondays.
So yeah, how to work this system now, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you, Steve, for being here. It's been good. You've been good. And remember, if you can't be good, you're naughty.
You're naughty.
Yeah.